We had quite an SEC Week 7 to react to. The squad is getting together right now.
You're talking ball with the SEC squad. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up, you're part of the SEC squad.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into our Sunday reaction show with takeaways and everything else. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. A little bit of a smaller squad this Sunday morning. I'm Chris Gordy, host of Locked On SEC. We got Stephen Willis of Locked On Ole Miss and John Miller, Locked On Mizzou. We'll see if any other folks jump in. We also got some videos from some of our hosts that couldn't be here. So, gents, welcome in. What a crazy Week 7 it was. I've got a little mimosa action going this morning because it's like you need to just take a deep breath after what happened yesterday. How are you guys?
I could use something stronger maybe after yesterday's disappointing loss, but I like the vibe of the mimosa. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you look at the Ole Miss game, it was completely weird, and I'm just glad it's over. And on to game day in Georgia. I mean, it was one of those things that everybody was talking about Georgia from the moment the LSU game ended, and the team played like everybody talked about Georgia from the moment the LSU game ended.
Yeah, we will get everybody's comments in here as well. Feel free to comment across our channels as well. But gents, I want to start with let's start with Georgia at Auburn, because to me that was the craziest game of all. I had the 3 TV action going because you got, I'm watching A&M Florida, I'm watching LSU South Carolina, but Georgia Auburn just kept getting my attention because early on, man, it was all Auburn. And you're like, wow, it felt to me like Auburn A&M last year. Remember that game where it was like Auburn came out of the gates and you're like, they're going to win this game. Like, and they did win it last year. It was one of their biggest wins. But when they're about to punch it in and they fumble at the goal line, I mean, to go from that game should have been 17-0 Auburn to suddenly it's still 10-0 Auburn. And then Georgia's hanging around. And then the second half, the offense just absolutely nothing, like just nothing. And for Hugh Freeze being an offensive-minded coach, I was pretty shocked because I kept saying all week I thought Auburn's offense was going to get right at home. This is obviously Kirby's probably worst defense he's had in the last 10 years. They'll get better and probably change that narrative now. But I just felt like this was a perfect opportunity for Hugh Freeze and Auburn, and they fell on their face again.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, it was one of the most mentally weak performances by a team and coaching staff that I have ever seen. You did not lose because of the fumble at the goal line. Did he make it? Did he not make it? Who knows? It's close either way. I can hear both arguments and understand it. But to let that fumble control everything that happened after that was the biggest gift you could have given Kirby Smart. They completely took that game over because that fumble kept beating you every single play for the remainder of that game because you weren't mentally tough enough to get past it. If you would have gotten past the tough fumble, you had a chance to do a lot of stuff that was working. Yes, Georgia made some adjustments in the second half. Kirby Smart's a good football coach. He does that. But your coaches are supposed to be offensive gurus, so you should be able to find stuff to work. But I think they were just worried about that dang fumble at the end of the first half, and it just controlled everything for the remainder of the game to the point where I'm wondering, is Auburn going to go into the tank this season? If they are that weak, I wouldn't take them against Missouri. I wouldn't take them in a lot of the games moving forward. And don't forget Father's Day when you have to go up to Nashville, Auburn. That's coming too. So I am genuinely worried about Auburn after that fumble or not fumble on the goal line.
Yeah, it's looking ugly at Auburn. I got to say I'm a little bit surprised, and I'll say this after week one, a lot of people were saying, hey, it's a new Jackson Arnold. Kind of looks like the same old Jackson Arnold to me so far, and both the good and the bad being, dude just takes way too many sacks, number one, but really more importantly, I think this is mostly on Hugh Freeze, like you guys were alluding to. It's not as though this Auburn team is bereft of talent. They've got plenty of talent. I think their offensive line's pretty good. You know, the receivers are pretty good. I don't understand how Auburn cannot manufacture points. I really don't. Shouldn't they be better than this? This is now year 3, right? I just don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And Steven, you could speak to this because, you know, you're an Ole Miss guy, that Hugh Freeze, if anything, the offense was always going to be good. I mean, what do you have? Chad Kelly and all these dudes
Dr. Bo Wallace.
Yeah. And then, of course, at Liberty had what's the guy's name that ended up being he's like the backup in Green Bay now. But I mean, he's always gotten the most out of his quarterback play, and you know, it's like it just to be this bad. Look, last 2 years, I was willing to chalk it up to it was Peyton Thorne, but Jackson Arnold's no scrub. Like
right.
Again, you can say what you want about him. He was not
Sure.
at Oklahoma last year, but we were chalking up to bad offensive play calling, lack of talent around him, all the injuries to wide receiver, offensive line to Oklahoma last year. But this year, you felt good about Auburn's offensive line coming into the season. You said their wide receiver room is one of the most talented in the country. I think it still is. Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman and Malcolm Simmons, the list goes on and on. So for them to be as bad as they are, and some of the throws from Jackson Arnold are just like, dude, take a chill pill and settle the F down. Why is everything either high or low? It's like, this should not be this way with an offensive guru like Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, he's kind of got the Steve Sachs yips right now. That's what it looked like in the second half of that game. Wide open passes that were thrown at the feet of the wide receiver like 6 yards away. Honestly, all the stuff that we made fun of Arch Manning at the beginning of the season, Jackson Arnold was doing this in real time against Georgia in the second half. I'm telling you, it was a mentally weak performance by Auburn in the second half. It's one of those things. Every bit of narrative surrounding that Auburn program has completely changed. Zach Blackerby, who does Locked On Auburn, his reaction show last night it's up to like 25,000 views or something like that. They are completely melting down on the plains because they saw all of the stuff where they potentially got jobbed, and the Kirby calling a timeout and then saying, I didn't call a timeout, and getting basically a do-over I've never seen anything like that. Yes, you got jobbed on that, but you have to have the mental toughness to get past it. If you let that stuff beat you multiple times, you're never going to be successful.
I'll tell you this, speaking of things we talked about in the offseason, it became a running joke, of course, about Hugh Freeze and his golf game. Well, I got to be honest, this whole thing of whether it's the golf or whatever it is, in this sport, you don't just get to be crowned an offensive guru. You have to change every single year, if not every week, or else people are going to catch up to you. And I'm sorry, it does look like Hugh Freeze has been playing too much golf. I don't have time to play golf when football season starts. How the heck does he have time? Listen, I want to talk about the stupid golf thing. The point is, I think we can just put the offensive guru thing to bed for Hugh Freeze. He hasn't done it in the SEC, not since Ole Miss, and that's been a while.
Yeah, if you look at the rule changes that happened in college football, they hurt Hugh Freeze in particular. Gus Malzahn also got hurt whenever all of that happened. The linemen downfield, all of the stuff that Hugh Freeze used to do very well. Now, a little bit more even, a little bit more strange, and the offense isn't quite what it was, and I think that's bearing fruit right now.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, there were so many moments in this game. The goal line fumble is the one to me that if they punch that in, fellas, and go up 17-0, as good as Georgia played the second half, I don't think they come back.
It's over.
I think it would have been demoralizing, and Auburn's defense. Look, DJ Durkin deserves a lot of praise. His defense has done a fantastic job. They were, they were hitting Gunnar Stockton the whole freaking night. Like, you almost felt bad for Stockton. There was a few penalties and, roughing the passer and stuff like that. But, man, it's I don't know how it gets better. And here's the quandary if you're Auburn, man. And John, you could speak to this, that they host Mizzou this coming weekend. Mizzou's going to want to bounce back after that tough, hard-fought battle against Alabama. We'll get into that in a little bit. But, like, if they lose this one, then they're at Arkansas. I mean, like, if you're Auburn, you're thinking about making a change. If the offense looks like this again and they lose to Mizzou, I don't know how you don't consider making a midseason change, because this is year 3 and the offense has not shown any semblance of what a Hugh Freeze offense is supposed to be.
Yeah, the problem is that they made a change with Hugh Freeze, and I'm at the point where I'm leaning towards making a change at this point, but you're going to lose the majority of that young part of your roster. Cam Coleman's gone if that happens. He's somewhere else. Deuce Knight's gone. All of your hope for the future goes away with getting rid of Hugh Freeze. But if you keep Hugh Freeze, the offense doesn't necessarily look like it's playing up to that level right now anyway. So maybe you just go ahead and deal with the problem that's going to happen roster-wise and realize that, hey, if you go get Kurt Signetti or whoever is out there, they can build it through the transfer portal pretty quickly. Heck, Jimmy Rogers brought in 75 FCS players basically at Washington State, and that was a well-coached football team. So you can turn it around pretty quickly, even though the roster doesn't change that much.
Year 3 seems a little fast, but at the same time, what's the sign of hope here, really? Again, you brought in Freeze because you thought he was going to juice the offense. Like Chris said, where's it been? I just haven't seen it.
Yeah. After the kick 6 and the prayer of Jordan Hare, you knew there was something that you were going to have to eventually pay, and it looks like that is this year.
I've seen this narrative from some people out there basically saying, like, the SEC officiating, like, we need to, with all the money this conference, billions of dollars on the line, like, how do we not have better officiating? I mean, they had one of the games last week, they had one of the chain gang guys got knocked over, and they had to bring a whole medical staff out because he's like a 70-year-old man. It's like, how is this the best we can do? Go find some 30-year-old, 40-year-old dudes that are fit, in shape, with great eyesight, 100, what's best, 100 eyesight, whatever the hell 2020 eyesight, and make them full-time, give them a great salary, give them benefits, all this. Like, how are we not investing in the biggest part of what goes into these games?
Well, the pros don't do it. The NFL doesn't do it. Why would you expect college football to do it? I mean, I think you're making all the sense in the world. I would definitely do that. Let's cut some NIL. Let's get some NIL deal money for the chain gang. You heard it here first.
Yeah. I have a conspiracy theory on that, and that is the conferences don't want to do that. They want the officiating to be erratic, so the conferences take a little bit less heat because, hey, these guys are only part-time officiating, and then everybody talks back and forth, and it generates buzz and noise. And I think the conferences are behind this more than anybody realizes. The conferences behind this.
Josh says, can we stop the crying? The only questionable thing was Kirby doing the fake timeout, other than Auburn gave up a halftime because they felt like they got screwed. I mean, to a certain degree, yes, the Auburn offense should have produced better in the second half. They were abysmal. There were it felt like no shots taken. I mean, obviously the Eric Singleton, drop, whatever it was, but like, just no confidence in. You've got some great wide receivers, and it's like you don't want to throw down the field. It's like everything's thrown at the line, everything's checked down, screens, just like at the line of scrimmage, and it's just it's mind-boggling.
Why is Deuce Knight not playing? Seriously.
They should have a package or two for him, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's that talented. And here's the part where you get into a lot of, when you talk about talented quarterbacks for freshmen, all this, it's like, well, they don't know the offense. They don't. Okay, but like Florida had Chris Leak and found packages for Tim Tebow because they thought he was that special. If you're bringing these quarterbacks, and this is the day and age, guys, where people don't sit and wait. Nobody sits and waits their turn anymore with the transfer portal. So like, how they're not putting on in some, and this should have been all spring, like all fall, like building hey, Deuce, what do you do well? Well, I can run it a little, but I can throw it. What's your favorite play in the playbook? We're going to work on that every week of practice, and there's going to be a game where we're going to call on you to run that play. Like, I just don't know why that's not the thing. And that's the other thing Zach was talking about on their show last night is like, if you're Auburn, like, do you stick with Jackson Arnold at this point? Because he's been so bad. Like, I get play calling's part of it, but like, do you make a change at quarterback? Let Deuce Knight go through his growing pains, but at least show all the incoming recruits and everybody that, hey, the future looks bright. Don't jump ship. Stay with us.
I think that makes a ton of sense. I mean, there's no reason to have any loyalty to Jackson Arnold or frankly, hardly anyone else in college football anymore. You're getting your money, pal. Go sit on the bench. That'd be my attitude. I mean, it may sound harsh, but this is a harsh league.
Yeah. And honestly, remember, this is Hugh Freeze. So putting in a package for Deuce Knight might be putting him and sneaking him in at wide receiver and throwing that dang double pass that comes out about once every 2 years.
Thanks to TW, Malik Willis, who I was thinking of at Liberty. But, again, like, it's track record for Hugh Freeze. What did y'all agree? I mean, Steven could give the best viewpoint on this, but, like, when Auburn hired Hugh, I was like, look, all the off-field stuff aside, I'm like, football-wise, this is going to work. Like, I think even Chris Marler was saying, like, they're going to compete for the SEC in year one with Hugh Freeze. And it didn't work out that way, but.
Yeah, I think he got a little bit too much praise for what happened at Liberty, playing games against New Mexico State and that level, running through those. And everybody assumed by what he did at Ole Miss, he was able to jump back in. You're going to get that Hugh Freeze. But like I mentioned, the rule changes and stuff like that. Not to mention, this is honestly a different Hugh Freeze. As far as he's much more thin-skinned than he used to be. At Liberty, you had the things where he was climbing into people's DMs that was criticizing what was going on around the coach and all of that. Remember whenever he got hired at Auburn, they were worried about his Twitter account and stuff like that. This is a different Hugh Freeze. They're thin skin, and they're on total circle the wagons mode right now. They are worried about keeping their jobs. So, yeah, it's going to be weird. Hugh Freeze was never a good fit for Auburn. He just wanted another SEC job after Ole Miss. He could have stayed at Liberty for 20 years, won 10 games a year, and retired a legend in the College Football Hall of Fame. And now he's going to be 3 and done at Auburn like so many coaches before him.
Could have, I mean, of course. I mean, like he coached a game from a hospital bed as well. I mean,
my gosh.
I mean, it's wild to me that the offense is so bad. Like, that's just, we thought that this offense would look a lot better under Hugh, and unfortunately it doesn't. What did you guys make of the Kirby fake time? I mean, on the replay, he is calling timeout. And then he comes back to the ref and goes, I was clapping. And the ref's like, oh, you were clapping? Oh, my bad. Well, then we won't charge you a timeout and we won't penalize you. Like, that's a little bit. Had this happened with Nick Saban, we all would have went, oh, God, SEC favoritism. But now it's Kirby. Saban's gone. Is Kirby getting the SEC favoritism?
Oh, he absolutely is. And if you didn't call a timeout and they said that, fine. Take the 5-yard penalty. Don't try and game the system. I don't care if you were saying the defense is clapping or anything like that. That was the most egregious play. Not the fumble. That one was the most egregious play where you're like, something fishy is going on here, because there's no way that you can just get a mulligan after the play clock is going to run out when you have one timeout left. That would have been a big moment if Georgia would have lost that timeout. If, never mind the fact that they didn't use it for the rest of the game, but in that moment, that would have been a big deal. And I have no idea how that worked, where it's like, no, I didn't call timeout. It was, it was just the way it is. And they're like, okay, do over. We'll just snap the ball again and pretend like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, speaking of terrible officiating, my goodness, that reminded me of the moment in the Missouri-Kansas game where the Tigers took a 15-yard penalty, so they were kicking off from their own 20 as if it were a safety, but it wasn't a safety. Eli Drinkwitz went, hey, can we free kick it here? And the refs went, yeah, go ahead. What? That's not in the rule book. And the officiating crew was suspended for that. So I just thought that was a funny note there. But as to the idea that is Kirby Smart getting some favoritism? Well, yeah, of course he is. It's called human nature, ladies and gentlemen. If I'm Arn from Rome, Georgia, and my part-time job is being an official, then yeah, I'm going to probably be a little bit intimidated by Kirby Smart. And when he lies to me and Jedi mind tricks me a little bit, it's going to tend to work. That's how I think human beings work, everybody.
All right, when we return, guys, we got to get into Red River. We'll also get into the Auburn Mizzou game. We got plenty more to go here on the Locked On SEC Squad Edition right here on a Sunday. Hey, but first, I want to remind you guys this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mazda. And look, Mazda is always moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, keep moving the game forward. And this week's moment that moved the game forward, guys, who do you want to go with? I mean, there's plenty of stars from yesterday. You know what? I might go with, let's go with Ty Simpson, because he was outstanding. What, another 200-yard day, 3 touchdowns, passes. We'll get into this, John Miller. Sorry to depress you a little bit, but Ty Simpson, obviously, I just saw the latest Heisman odds. He's right up there, I think, number 2 behind Carson Beck. Again, this is week to week. The odds change and move. But Ty Simpson absolutely moved the game forward. A 3rd straight top 25 win for Alabama without a bye week in between. Pretty impressive. And, again, Ty Simpson doing awesome things. And, look, when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there is more to every highlight, there is more to every Mazda vehicle. If you're thinking about buying a vehicle, check out our friends at Mazda. It is Mazda, move and be moved. All right, gents, before we move on fully, I did forget we have to play our buddy Zach Blackerby, his reaction to the Auburn game. So here's Zach, and then we'll transition and move on.
Another week means there's another game that Auburn has found a way to lose under Hugh Freeze. The officiating was awful. No question. And Auburn fans have every right to be frustrated. And I think other teams watching what's happened to Auburn, and I mean, it sounds like South Carolina, I wasn't able to watch that game, but it sounds like South Carolina was in a tough spot officiating-wise as well. Like, the league deserves better. There's no question about it. That's not why Auburn lost this game. You know, Jackson Arnold, hold on to the football at the goal line, or don't overthrow Eric Singleton, put a little air under it, or don't throw it 10 feet over Preston Howard's head on a 4th and 3 where he had plenty of room. There's a lot of self-inflicted stuff too, and that seems to be kind of the thing that happens with this team over and over and over again. So they lost to a pretty good Georgia team, just like they lost to a pretty good Oklahoma team and a pretty good Texas A&M team. And those are all games they probably should have won. But you can't find ways to win in this league. It's a pattern at this point.
So that was Zach Blackerby. We should mention this is the 3rd straight year Auburn has started 0-3 in the conference. I think that's never happened before. I want to say that's what somebody said. So, and it's happened under Hugh Freeze. So, yeah, man, we're talking about possibly calling for his head. This ain't personal. This ain't overreaction. This is straight up terrible trend and not going the right direction. It is funny though. Zach brought up on his post game show, like, I did have them losing these 3 games, but I have Auburn finishing 8-4. So that's the crazy part is as much as you want to throw in the towel and say Auburn's terrible, the defense has been really good. If they could just figure out something offensively, the season's not over. I mean, playoffs hopes are over, but like an 8-4 season, you could end the season and go, all right, arrow pointing in the right direction, Auburn trending upward. But do you guys have any faith that's going to happen?
All right, Chris, if Auburn played LSU this year like they should, like they always have, what would the final score of that game be?
Oh, my God. I mean, probably 20-10, much like the Georgia game.
Is that a 3-2 Auburn, Tommy Tuberville, Mississippi State game? It's one of those things. What I saw from Jackson Arnold the second half, I don't know it can be fixed, honestly. I saw a little bit of Steve Sachs yips happening in the second half of that game to where they're missing wide open guys. You make the right decision, you make it in a timely manner, and you just can't make the throw. And this is a guy that I saw at the Under Armour All-American game when he was down there. Saw him in person. It's like, man, this guy is really good. He can rip it. And all you see now is hesitation and accuracy problems and stuff like that. He's living off of his legs at the moment. It's just really kind of sad to see where that offense is going.
Saw somebody in the comments say, Birmingham Bowl, here we come. You should be so lucky. I think you guys are heading to Shreveport, by the way. So good luck with that. But by the way, enough with Auburn, by the way. I'm sick of them. Can we move on? Can we move on?
Yeah, we're gonna turn the page on Auburn. Let's get to Bama Mizzou. I mean, this one lived up to the hype, John. I thought Mizzou was gonna. I mean, they go right down the field on the opening drive and look so fluid, looked incredible. Score that early touchdown, but man, the defense was kind of on their heels with Ty Simpson in Alabama. Bama kept putting together some drives, and even still, Auburn or Mizzou kind of tried to figure it out. To me, the death knell was the fake punt that they really didn't need to do. I even thought he got it, stretching the ball out.
You could argue it. Yeah, I just didn't have the angle on the replay probably, but
hindsight 2020, if they just punt there, this thing maybe is tied and we're going to overtime, depending on how the game would have played out. But that said, Mizzou still had their chances, but just kind of, I think that's one that Eli Drinkowitz may be kicking himself over with today.
You know what? I wish they would have just run the fake punt to the wider side of the field. They ran it to the short side, and guess what? That brings in the sideline as your 12th defender that has never missed a tackle in the history of football there. That's the problem to me. But the Missouri game, I'll tell you, I was there in person yesterday, and I also have a great angle to take all 22 footage with my iPhone like the dork that I am. And I've been going through that this morning, right at the beginning of the fourth quarter here is where I cut it off, had to come on with you all. I'll just say the biggest difference in this ball game, quite simply, was just the quarterback position. Ty Simpson was good, and Bo Perbula simply wasn't. I mean, he just made too many mistakes yesterday, and he made a few plays, but he had one really nice play on a run for a touchdown that left an Alabama defender, just juked him out of his shoes. But he made some plays, but quite simply just way too many mistakes and just, missed opportunities. First quarter there, Marquise Johnson is running wide open down the right sidelines. Perbula throws it, but he throws it out of bounds. I mean, quite simply, that ball just has to be in bounds in that situation. A bad interception that sealed the game for the Tide. But really, if you're a Missouri fan looking forward here, you shouldn't be totally discouraged. If you want to be disappointed, you should be. You absolutely should be, because we could have won that game yesterday. And, again, the quarterback I didn't think was good enough. We can argue about play calling, the fourth down, fake punt, all of that stuff. Quite simply, that was the difference in the game to me, was the most important position on the field. Bama had it, we didn't.
One thing is interesting. This is the best team that Missouri's played all season.
True.
So there was a little bit of an adjustment period in the beginning of the game, and Ty Simpson and Alabama were able to take advantage of it. Other than the first drive where Missouri just bullied their way down the field to a touchdown, Alabama kind of kept Missouri's offense off the field. It was 7-7 and 14-7 or 10-7 or something like that. And it was 17-7. At that point, you're playing comeback with Bo Perbula and all of that. And you still got back to 27-24 with the ball. And if Bo Perbula throws it to a different receiver instead of the interception, he had a wide open guy on about the 40-yard line. He could have stepped out of bounds, and all of a sudden it can get really weird really quickly. So Missouri fans should not be disheartened by that game at all, not even a little bit. It was just one of those things to where it's the best athletes that you've seen this season, a quarterback that is starting for the first time this season. He had to get used to the speed of the players on the other side of the field. He struggled a little bit, but they were able to fight back. I honestly, Missouri lost the game, but I'm very encouraged by that. And Alabama right now might be the best team in the SEC.
Yeah, and I still think the league is pretty wide open at the top, relatively speaking. But yeah, I think you have to favor the Crimson Tide right now. I looked at their schedule and thought, really, especially, some people are saying, hey, maybe trap game for the Tide. I don't think so. You look at their schedule. If they win this game, the rest of their most difficult games are all at Bryant-Denny Stadium at home for the Tide. So, yeah, they're set up pretty well right now, I have to say. And Ty Simpson, as I said before, he's playing like the best quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah, which is hilarious because he was a 5-star when he got recruited. So he was always a good player, but because he was good this year, everybody was freaking. They're like, "Wow, look at this guy! It's a great story." It's like, no, he was good all along. He's
right. It just took him a while to get the starting job. So it's like, oh wow, he actually hung around. We're not used to those stories anymore, Steven.
Grace says, let's be real, Probula alone didn't lose us that game. Yeah, but it also felt like one of those games where it was a reality check. Like, oh, you did this against Kansas and all these, crappier teams. Now you're playing a real team in Alabama, and suddenly Ahmad Hardy averaging 7 yards a carry isn't there against the Alabama. And this isn't like one of Alabama's best defensive fronts, but they just play so sound. They play so well, and they tackle well. How many times yesterday, like, God, if Mizzou just slips that one tackle, it would have been a big play.
That's true.
It just, Alabama was very fundamentally sound. I think Kane Womack did a good job, and but
I think Missouri was too, though. That's the thing, defensively and just generally speaking. Again, looking back at this game up front, I'm used to seeing. Obviously, as a Missouri fan, we play the Tide. There's a huge difference in the trenches. I thought it was much more of a stalemate in the trenches than anything. So again, I think the Tigers are for real. Unfortunately, they definitely let one get away from them there. To the commenter who said, hey, let's be real, it wasn't all Probula. I never said it was all Probula, but I'm telling you, go back and watch. There was mostly a stalemate in terms of talent, I thought, just overall. I think that was the difference in the game. And it wasn't just about Probula. I'm trying to give Simpson some credit, too. Did you see that touchdown pass in the back of the end zone there? The Missouri defender was undercutting that route. If that thing is even slightly behind him, that's maybe an interception. That was just a beautiful, beautiful anticipation and location by Simpson on that play. So, listen, I think Probula will probably be fine going forward. He's been a good player so far. And, again, just from the human element of this, the guy's playing the freaking Alabama Crimson Tide in his 6th start of his entire life, this in college at least, okay? So it's okay if he was maybe a little bit nervous, a little bit whatever. That's understandable. It really is.
Somebody brought this up early in the game, that taunting play. Come on. Like, I get why they had that penalty, but right. I think that needs to go away. Like, let kids celebrate. If they make a big play, they should be allowed to. I mean, literally, it came up in his face like, yeah. Like, it wasn't like he threw him to the ground. Like, that, okay. But, like, taunting in the first freaking quarter, like, what are we doing, man? It's just people having emotion and let them have it. The other one I got to give a shout out, Lottie Brooks for Bama. My God, what a hell of a play on, I think it was 3rd down that set up a 1st and goal for that. I mean, like, Bama's got receivers, man.
Yes,
Isaiah Holt in a game where Ryan Williams nothing.
Barely even played. I kept looking for him out there. I'm like, where's number 2? He didn't even play that much. I'd be interested to see the snap counts, but you're totally right.
They got some dudes, man. Isaiah Horton, Cuevas had some nice I mean, they came up big. Or give credit where credit's due.
They're good players and all that, but the reason that Missouri honestly didn't win this game is because there are no rocks in the stadium.
Oh my God. Not the Rocks again. The Rock Empire. It's going to be back next season at least.
All right. Well, let's we heard John Miller's side of things. Let's hear a little bit from the other side of things.
Do we have to?
Our buddy Luke Robinson, who's at the airport. He would be on with us, but he's flying back from Kansas City.
It's Luke Robinson with Locked On Bama in the Kansas City airport, heading home after Alabama's big win over Missouri, an undefeated Missouri squad that is very, very tough. They held Ahmad Hardy, who is a fabulous running back, to well under his average and looked really good in a lot of aspects. Ty Simpson continues to be incredible. Lots Brooks was fantastic with some huge clutch catches late. The defense did just enough. Yeah, on the first drive, they didn't look great, but then they really stepped it up. Bray Hubbard, he got juked on the touchdown run by Probula, but he ended up making a big interception late. And Dejon Lee, who had gotten hurt, also comes up with a big interception. Lots to be happy about if you're an Alabama fan now. It's on to a very tough game again for the 4th straight ranked opponent against Tennessee. But for now, just enjoy this Missouri win because it's a big one, and that's a team that could threaten to be in the college football playoffs.
So there was Luke Robinson. Let's find our background here. There we go. It was just very interesting, guys. The thing I'll say too about Alabama these last couple weeks, the balls on Kalen DeBoer going forward on 4th down, showing confidence in his team. I think DeBoer is earning a lot of look. We all poo-pooed on him after week 1, the loss of Florida State, right? I mean, talk was about what week he's going to be fired. And
We
all
did.
these
Luke did. My God, Luke was just killing him, honestly. So, yeah, we've turned it around, haven't we?
now
Yeah,
look,
that
I'm
Florida State loss is not looking great right now.
I'm not
No,
going
it's
to
not.
jump all the way to, oh, Bama is back and they're what they were under Saban. That's not the case. But they're a really good team. In a year where we're finding out some teams aren't flawless. Like,
True.
Oregon yesterday, lose at home to Indiana. Like, there are a lot of teams, like the playing field is so much more leveled now. But I think what behooves Bama is they're going to host Tennessee at home this week. They're going to host LSU in first week in November. They're going to host Oklahoma. The Iron Bowl, we'll see what happens at Auburn at the end of the year. But, like, this thing sets up, Bama's playing with house money now. They got one more. They could still take a loss and 10-2, and they may be in Atlanta. The two teams that get to Atlanta may be both 10-2. So, that's what's going to be very fascinating to see over these next couple of weeks. But the reality is Bama's playing right now the last 5 weeks better than anybody, and I think we got to give a little bit of credit to them.
Great comment here by Mang. The Ole Miss guy is fool. Well done. You should definitely you should put that on your cave, buddy. Good writing. Excellent job.
That should be my banner on my Twitter.
It really should
account,
be.
actually.
Put that on your gravestone, buddy. That's good
seriously.
stuff. My God.
All right. Well, when we come back, guys, we do have to get into Red River. What a hell of a game that one was. I had the two TVs going for all the games that were going on in the afternoon slate. But Texas, Oklahoma, we'll react to that coming up in just a second. But first, I want to remind you guys, of course, the NFL season is here, and coming up in less than half an hour, we will have the NFL slate. And FanDuel, of course, got that great offer going on right now. New customers can bet just $5, and you win $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Makes watching football that much more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. And they've got all the SEC games up there as well. So if you like betting on college, if you like betting on pros, whatever it is, FanDuel's got something for everybody. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Go to FanDuel.com right now, download the FanDuel app today, and get started. And if you've never used them before, first time signing up ever, make sure you take advantage of that great offer. Bet $5 and you can win $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That is at FanDuel.com. This episode also brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Look, most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's your 401k, your properties, your investments, whatever it is. If you don't have the full picture, you're probably leaving money on the table. John Miller knows all about this. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch, built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch Money is just for you. They're going to do all the heavy lifting. You can link all your accounts in just minutes, see clear visuals on where all your spending is, finally feel in control of your money without ever using a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege. You're going to get half off your first year. That is 50% off a full year at monarchmoney.com with our code LOCKEDONCollege. Go check them out today. All right, gents, as we get back into it, Red River, I call it the shootout, but rivalry game as they want to.
Pew, pew, pew.
I know, yeah, because God forbid we call something a shootout.
That's in the same bin as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, I think.
Yeah, can't say that. Kids might drink,
Yeah.
By the way, buy
thing.
Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out next year.
But man, this one was tough. I mean, look, when we heard all week that John Mateer was probably going to go, I kept wondering, is this a smoke screen? Is he going to play all this? It never really dawned on me, guys, that if he was going to play and not be 100%, he might be a liability. And as this game played out, John Mateer was a liability, man. He was not. I couldn't help but keep going. Gosh, maybe they give Michael Hawkins a drive. And I get it, a lot of people go, no, Hawkins would have been eaten alive by that Texas defense. Okay, but at the end of the day, John Mateer scored 6 points, was shut out in the second half. Kudos to Oklahoma defense. I thought they did a hell of a job, but Arch Manning and the Texas offense did just enough. Trey Wisner with 94 rushing yards, and Texas beats Oklahoma 23-6. Curious, you guys' thoughts on this one?
Man, with the benefit of hindsight, how could I argue with the fact that they should have put in the backup quarterback? I mean, you've got Mateer out there. The hand is dangling and bleeding, and people are openly wondering if he opened the wound up or something. I mean, seriously, with the benefit of hindsight, it's obvious he shouldn't have played in this ball game. He wasn't ready, and to put him out there, boy, that was bad coaching on Brent Venable's part. Maybe bad on the training staff's part, whoever. Just there was some bad decision making there because I don't know. It turns out having a healthy hand is important when you're a quarterback.
Yeah, I'm going to take a victory lap a little bit on this one. I was wondering if Oklahoma was putting John Mateer at risk for the sake of a rivalry game last week before it happened, because I was more worried about him hitting his thumb on a helmet or something like that. He wasn't good. Like, Michael Hawkins could have literally done that.
For sure.
Absolutely. So if that was going to happen, why risk this? Now, he was bleeding. We all saw it. Everybody was talking about what was going on. Did something get opened up that is going to delay him coming back further for the next game down the road? Is this going to cost you the South Carolina game or the Ole Miss game? That becomes a real question now. And if he comes back, can he be effective? Because if that John Mateer plays in the game against South Carolina or Ole Miss, Oklahoma's not winning that game. It doesn't matter where they're playing. So I think that John Mateer getting rushed back, because that feels exactly what they did for the sake of a rivalry. They did this. I think that was a horribly short-sighted mistake, and it potentially could cost them the college football playoff this season.
And I think that's the right phrase, is short-sighted, because in the 12-team era, my God, you don't have to win every single game anymore, guys. I understand the Red River Shootout is a historically huge game, huge rivalry. I get it. It's not really any more important than any other of the games in the SEC, though. It just isn't. And you're just, the forest for the trees, whatever that analogy is. I think you're exactly right. I think it was a short-sighted move by Oklahoma that could end up costing them in the long run.
Somebody said, very happy for Arch. He started to turn around. I did think a little bit like we had the standing over the Sam Houston State defender a few weeks ago. I mean, when they runs for that first down late in the game and does the waving, I'm like, okay, bro, you threw for 166 yards and rushed for 34. You had an okay game, but let's not act like y'all just dominated. Oh, suck on it, Oklahoma. We're coming for the championship. Be a little bit humble here, Arch. It was a good game for him. Not great, but good, and it was a really great win. But that one just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, let's check it a little bit, Arch.
He wants to be Joe Burrow so bad. That's what it is. He wants to be Joe Burrow. In the first opportunity he has, he does it. I think he would be more insufferable than Johnny Manziel if he was a good quarterback. When he finally gets through, he played all right. I think Texas and Steve Sarkisian actually did some brilliant stuff by putting him under center and stuff that probably his uncles know a little bit about, of keys that you can look for of what's going on. But you're right. Talking noise, waving to the crowd and all of that, it seems forced. It's like forced happiness, mandatory fun. That's what's going on. You just beat Oklahoma in a game that honestly nobody thought you would because of what happened a week ago against the Florida Gators. So enjoy this. Get ready for, I guess, what is it, Mississippi State? No, Mississippi State's at Florida, but they're going to Kentucky. Get ready for the Wildcats, and let's see how that goes. But I am glad that they started to lean on the running game a little bit. Quinn Wisner getting going. That's probably the biggest story of this game.
This guy said we'll find anything to hate on Arch. I mean, look, the guy was a preseason Heisman favorite. He was the next coming and all this. And I said this preseason. I said he's going to have his roller coaster. He's going to have his ups and his downs. I think 2026 will be the year that he'll be the preseason Heisman favorite. Texas will be probably the preseason number one. All the hype for Texas next year, I think will be worthy. I think he'll be awesome by next year. He's just got to go through his growing pains. But look, he made some nice throws. I thought early on the gosh, they're so conservative. I don't know how much of that is Sark trying to baby him or what, but the throws at the line of scrimmage, how many damn screens they throw to Trey Wisner, dude, You got Ryan Wingo. You got these big-time receivers. Take some damn shots down the field. Like, some of it's probably you still don't trust that offensive line, and it's a work in progress. But I just gosh, this game was playing a phone booth in the first half, and I'm like, somebody make a damn big play.
Right.
And again, Texas, look, the punt return, was there a block in the back? Our Oklahoma guys say absolutely there was. Our Texas guys say no, there wasn't. Take it for what it is. But that one was the kind of the separator that made this thing out of reach. But did you ever feel like Oklahoma was going on a touchdown drive? Because I didn't feel that way.
No.
Not really. Just watching the parts of the game that I did, not really. I have to say, and one thing I have to say too, I gave Kirby Smart some crap after beating Tennessee when he was playing the "Nobody Believes in Us" card. Well, I'm going to stay consistent here. Steve Sarkisian did it too. He was going, "Oh, all these naysayers and non-believers or whatever." I'm going, buddy, you got worked by Florida. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, I had some questions. Forgive me for not bowing down at the altar of Texas football at every possible second. I just find that so hilarious that every single time a coach wins, they're like, "Oh, nobody believed in us." Somebody must have believed in you, bud. I don't know. I've seen your wife. You sold something to her. I don't know. She believed in you, that's for sure. So I don't know. I just found that hysterical.
Yeah, by the way, I think I'm going to be at that game next week, Texas Kentucky. I was worried if Texas had lost this game. I mean, there would have been no focus on that game at all. A 3-loss Texas team going up against a terrible Kentucky team. At least now there's the storyline. If Texas gets their crap together and goes on a run here, they can still very much get to Atlanta. They can still very much make the playoff after everybody buried them. But again, it's going to take Arch continue to play well. And the run game is key. Trey Wisner with the hamstring injury last week. CJ Baxter didn't play again. Like, if they can get all that figured out, Texas very much can be in the playoff picture still. Let's hear from our guy, Jay Smith, host of Locked On Sooners, following this one.
The video y'all been waiting for. You may be wondering, how did I get here? Yeah, Sooners got their tail kicked. BTA. Sooners lose to the Longhorns. And I just want to know, first off, shout out to John Neighbors for knowing exactly what was about to happen. Shout out to BK over there at Locked On Longhorns for having me on to talk ball on his show as well. But John Neighbors, how'd you know this? Like, did you do the body swap for the 2024 team to the 2025 team in the second half? Because second half was literally not a game that I thought we were actually going to be able to play. That was terrible. It was awful. We forgot how not only to play defense, but our offense was 100% the 2024 team. In that case, we probably should have played Michael Hawkins in the second half, but I digress. Sooners lost. Oh, well. Flush it, move on to the next game. Sucks losing to a rival, though. Really sucks, especially a Texas team that was struggling. But they played great ball. They showed up, and they showed that they actually wanted it more. So not going to make it because I'm traveling. As you can see by the fancy chair behind me, I will see y'all on the squad show. I promise you on Tuesday, I'm going to try my hardest to make it, and y'all can yell at me then. Jay Smith, Locked On Sooners. We'll talk soon.
Man, that was awesome, by the way. He came from Versailles. I was halfway expecting him to tell us to let us eat cake.
So real quick, just kind of talk about what's ahead for these two teams. For Texas, they're at Kentucky. They're at Mississippi State. So two, winnable environments. Mississippi State's better this year. They get Vanderbilt at home. They're at Georgia November 15th. What's Georgia going to look like in that game? And then they're home against Arkansas and home against A&M. I'll put it out there for you guys. November 28th, home against A&M. Right now, would you make a prediction that game is just like last year, that the winner of that game goes to Atlanta between Texas versus A&M?
Wow, that's a tough one.
As long as Texas A&M wins. The Texas being back thing, it almost feels like Bloody Mary at this point. If you keep saying, it's like saying Beetlejuice 3 times in a row, Texas is back, Texas is back, Texas is back, and there you go. We're going to talk about them for Atlanta. Let them handle what's going on, because we've seen them lose on the road. They've got the game at Georgia. They're likely going to lose that game. A&M's going to be tough, and don't ever underestimate Arkansas in this deal. I mean, we've seen both sides of this, and I don't think that they're going to play an extremely high level for the rest of the season. They got the win against Oklahoma. I don't know how much of that was Oklahoma's doing, with kind of rushing John Mateer back, but I don't know if I would put Texas up towards the SEC championship talk right now. They're not Georgia. They're not Alabama to me.
I can't go there either, especially we didn't even mention they still have Vanderbilt on the schedule too. Am I guaranteeing a win over Vanderbilt? Not whatsoever. I mean, I just saw them at least hang in there with the Alabama team that we were all just saying, hey, they're probably the favorites to win the league right now. So is it possible? Sure, it's possible. I just don't know that I think it's likely. I still have a lot of questions with Texas.
For Oklahoma, by the way, they have to go to South Carolina this week, a team that's kind of licking their wounds after their game against LSU. They're home against Ole Miss. That'll be an interesting one. Then they're at Tennessee, at Alabama, home for Mizzou, home for LSU. Guys, by my calculations, the last 5 weeks for Oklahoma were all against ranked top 25, current top 25 teams. In fact, current top 14 teams. So that's a tough go there. Mateer better get his ass right very quickly because that's brutal.
Yeah, it's rough.
That season definitely it has the chance to get kind of ugly down in Norman, but also that's a good team too. It's just wow, that is a brutal stretch.
But please tell me again how tough Indiana's stretch is in the Big Ten. Like, come on, it's like you know how easy it is to get up for one game a year. Like, oh, we got up for one game, we beat Oregon. Yeah, now you're going to go play like the crappy Purdue's and the Rutgers and all the crappy teams in the Big Ten.
Penn State probably is sitting back going,
baby.
This is a hard schedule. This Big
UCLA.
Ten gauntlet that we had to go through. Not anybody can beat Northwestern. Never mind the fact that Tulane beat them by 21 points earlier this year. We just couldn't handle them at home. Penn State would probably disagree with your statement, Chris.
Well, let's run around it real quick. We've got about 8 minutes left in the show. South Carolina, LSU beats them 20-10. An ugly game again offensively for LSU. Is better by Nussmeier. We kept hearing he needed to get to the bye week. He looked healthier. He looked like he was throwing better passes. But LSU gets to the red zone 3 times and leaves points on the table. One fumble at the 1 yard line. A Garrett Nussmeier interception in the end zone. It was one of those games where like this should have been a bigger blowout, but LSU just kept leaving the door open for South Carolina. So the one big takeaway I'll say is for LSU, their defense is legit. I mean, this felt very much like the DJ Lagway Florida game a few weeks ago. They just didn't have a good enough game plan against Trinidad Chambliss in the Ole Miss loss. But and LSU 5-1, I still call them a dangerous team because they have the possibility, guys, of putting it all together one week. And if they do that, maybe they could win at Alabama. Maybe they could win at Oklahoma. And this could be a 10-2 team. They're still very much in the picture, but I'm still very much looking at them, doubting them, going, at what point do we go, this is who you are? You're just a sloppy football team.
Kind of feels like a Les Miles throwback LSU team to me. A team that has a bunch of talent, but just could never quite, a lot of times anyway, just could never quite put it together offensively. That's what this feels like to me. But a really good defense, like you say.
If I was Brian Kelly, I'd be watching Kentucky film on repeat and figure out how they turn games into rock fights, because that is the best way for LSU. Make the game a rock fight, and you're likely going to win because it's going to be so hard for the other team to score. There's going to get turnovers. You're going to win field position. Brian Kelly needs to play each and every game by the numbers, to the point where unless you are inside the 30-yard line of the other team, you do not go for it on 4th down. You never give up a short field. Ball security is of the maximum importance. If they do that, the defense has a chance to win 9 or 10 ball games this year. The defense is one of the best in the entire country. Nussmeier can't play hero ball. They have to maximize ball security, running the football for what little bit they can do. And they also remind me so much of the 2024 Ole Miss team.
Yeah, if LSU just had taken care of the football yesterday, that game would have been 30-10. They'd have blown out South Carolina. Instead, it was a close game into the 4th quarter. How about your game, Steven? I had to put this game on. I think you and I were the only ones in the squad chat watching this game, but I was like, what the hell is Ole Miss doing? In a game they were favored by, 30-something points?
Yeah.
They have to hang on for dear life to beat Washington State. What was that?
This is what I think happen. Now, they're going to say all the right things for the coaching staff and all of that. I don't think they did much of anything in preparation for Washington State. They just wanted to Jimmy's and Joe's get past it. They saw the wet North Texas stuff. Ole Miss fans have been talking about Georgia since the end of the LSU game. Heck, Lane Kiffin talked about Georgia during the bye week and said that. And whenever in coach speak, the way it goes, I'm like, U.S. military equipment, what you hear about is only about 20% of what's actually there. So whenever they say they're spending 2 days working on Georgia, they're probably spending 5 days working on Georgia. And because of that, Jimmy Rogers, who's a heck of a coach of Washington State, he built a dynasty at South Dakota State, and they had a really good game plan. They beat them on a trick play early in the game, and they can throw the ball pretty well because Ben Arbuckle was there, and there was a little bit of concepts of what was going on. But Ole Miss was able to survive, and that's what they did, survive. And one thing that I saw in the chat was when Cam Newton made his run throughout all the year, it took a game-winning field goal at the end of the game to beat Kentucky. Whenever Tennessee did their magical run, it took Clint Sterner like fumbling the ball, trying to hold himself up. Ole Miss survived that game. Now you have game day in Athens. You have the game that everybody has been looking forward to seeing, and it should get a lot more interesting and fun from here. I know that last week was a chore. It was almost like having a second bye week as far as fan interest goes. And we will see. Ole Miss just survived that. They needed to survive that. They got the W, but Jimmy Rogers almost destroyed Ole Miss's season by all of these games that were going.
Is that official? Is game day is going to Athens?
Yes, game day will be at Athens.
I saw SEC Nation is heading to Tuscaloosa. Yeah, game day will head to Athens for Ole Miss, Georgia. Look, here's the crazy part for me for Ole Miss, Stephen, is these next 2 weeks are their season at Georgia and at Oklahoma, and yet they could still lose both, and I think they'll run the table and be in as a playoff team. So that win over LSU was just massive because, again, it gives them a mulligan or two, and they can, again, lose both games. Look, if they split them, if they win one of at Georgia or at Oklahoma, even better. I mean, they'll be sitting there with a great chance to go to Atlanta.
Yeah, it allows Lane to be Lane, honestly. If just joking about that, if they beat Georgia or Oklahoma, all of a sudden that gives you a mulligan against South Carolina or Florida if something weird happens, or God forbid, being a 2-loss team playing against Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. I mean, that is every Ole Miss fan's nightmare right now of what that could mean. But yeah, it's a situation. They're sitting exactly where they want to be and exactly where they need it to be to have a real playoff discussion. Now it's just Georgia. Now it's Oklahoma. Put your best foot forward to go try to win one of those games and see what happens.
Real quick, we didn't give any love to Texas A&M. Seeing some folks in the comments. The Aggies get it done against Florida. This one early looked like, is this going to be a shootout? But Florida never could get that offense going again after the first quarter. They were shut out in the second half, had just a field goal in the third quarter. They were shut out in the fourth quarter.
I didn't see any of it, but I was impressed by the result. I'll just tell you that. I mean,
yeah.
if you want to be a believer in A&M, I thought Florida had a chance to make that interesting, and they appeared to just put it away in the second half. So I thought an impressive win. Again, I didn't see any of it. I'll be honest with you.
I got a text message this morning that was talking about how there was a pretty cool embrace at the end of the game between DJ Lagway and Mike Elko. That might be something to keep an eye on in the near future, since Willis, Texas is right down the road from College Station to begin with.
Yeah, I'll say this about A&M. Look, they've been impressive overall. Marcel Reed, man, he left some throws out there yesterday, though. The interception in the end zone was not a good decision. And it kept kind of like, you kept looking up and like Florida's within 7, and it felt like it shouldn't have been. Like it felt like A&M should have pulled away. They did pull away there in the fourth quarter. But to me, the Aggies are very much this. They've left Kyle Field once this year. And it was a game where they gave up 40 points at Notre Dame and needed a prayer and a hope on that game-winning touchdown pass. Give them credit. They found a way to win the game. But they're one play away from being 0-1 on the road. Their next 3 games are all on the road in the conference. At Arkansas, at LSU, and at Mizzou. These next 3 weeks are going to tell us who A&M really is. Again, give them credit. Tip of the cap. You won 3 great games at home. I don't want to disparage that. I'm just saying we're going to see a different A&M team, I feel like, when they have to leave the friendly confines of Kyle Field. Those fans are rocking though. I mean, 100,000 plus again, like for, I think somebody said like 9th straight sellout. They have been awesome. The home crowd's been awesome for A&M. But these next 3 weeks on the road, outside of the friendly confines of Kyle Field, we'll find out who A&M really is. But Casey Concepcion got a little banged up. He came back into this one. Lavian Moss got banged up. So that wear and tear, look, losing Moss last year hurt A&M down the stretch of the season in the run game. So we'll see. But, man, I was looking at the Pro Football Focus stats. Their offensive line graded out as like one of the best showings they've had all year. Defensive line was great. Cassius Howell. So, again, I'm cautiously optimistic on A&M. I think 10-2 is still very much in play. I mean, it was crazy, guys. Like, we could be talking about Ole Miss versus A&M in Atlanta. We could be talking about Bama versus Georgia. I mean, there's so many different scenarios still on the table here.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of parity and the fact that the SEC has become, instead of 3 teams competing every single year, it seems like for the championship, it's 6 teams or 7 teams. I think it makes everything a lot more fun.
I agree.
And especially being an Ole Miss fan.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not really, it hasn't been forced parity. It hasn't really been foisted upon anybody with, I don't know, any kind of odd rule changes. Obviously, the NIL and all of that stuff and the portal has been the big change, but I don't think that was ever the goal, was to create parity or anything. So I like natural parity for sure. It's been good to see.
One more game, be remiss if we didn't touch on. Tennessee survives Arkansas. Dude, I give them credit for as bad as the season's been. They were 2-3 coming into this one. Bobby Petrino is the interim coach taking over for Sam Pittman. He had those guys playing hard. I think at the end of the day, they're just Taylon Green. He's good, not great. They're going to turn the ball over. Mike Washington. I mean, they ran the ball very well, but again, they're this close. You know, they just needed to stop there at the end and try to get the ball back. They couldn't do it. Give Tennessee credit. They gutted out another win. They're 5-1, 2-1 in the SEC. But I'll say this about Arkansas. Like, if Petrino really wants that job, keep coaching that way. Keep coaching. Have these guys keep playing hard, because they're going to beat somebody they're not supposed to with through the rest of this tough SEC schedule. But for Tennessee, you gutted out a good win, and a win is a win. Yeah,
real quick before we get out of here, Chris. Penn State's having conversations about James Franklin's future at Penn State right now. And that's from Pete Nakos of On3.
No. $55 million, that is buyout, something like that?
Yeah, it went to the playoffs last year. With Drew Aller made the playoffs.
Well, it'd be awesome if they hired Clark Lee and then James Franklin went back to Vanderbilt. Then we'd have another Bobby Petrino, all full circle moment.
I think James Franklin would be awesome at Vanderbilt. If
we've
Clark
seen
Lee
it. He
did.
was good at Vanderbilt. Yeah, it's not a hard thing to imagine at all.
I can't wait for the things like, hey, how do you like my Photoshop of James Franklin at Vanderbilt?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can't wait for that to happen.
Yeah.
Real quick, guys, before we wrap up, anybody on upset alert as you kind of look ahead to week 8? Tennessee's at Alabama, Mizzou at Auburn, A&M's at Arkansas, Ole Miss at Georgia, Oklahoma at South Carolina, LSU at Vanderbilt. It just looks like another week of games where you think it's easy to pick who's going to win these games, but some danger there.
Yeah. I like Ole Miss at Georgia right now. I obviously the Locked On Ole Miss stuff. I do like that game because of Georgia coming off the emotional gauntlet, because at the end of the Auburn game, Kirby was up on a medical table celebrating with the fans. It was one of those few times that you saw Kirby Smart kind of act like it was a Super Bowl type deal, even winning the game against Auburn. So maybe there might be a little bit of a letdown. It's not at night in Georgia. You never want to play at night if you can help it at Georgia. So I like Ole Miss there, and I like Missouri to get a road win at Auburn, obviously, as well, but that's not necessarily an upset.
No, certainly not, after we talked smack about Auburn for the first 4.5 hours of this live stream here. But really the game I'm looking at just in terms of upsets, how about South Carolina over Oklahoma? I realize the Gamecocks have not been up to snuff this year, but it seems like they just haven't been able to score quite enough points. If John Mateer is still compromised, or if indeed maybe they make the move to Michael Hawkins this week, watch out. I'm just saying.
The only thing I'll say, though, is South Carolina, that offensive line has been banged up and not good. Vandy had their way. LSU had their way. I think that Oklahoma defense is going to bottle up Lenore Sellers. I mean, maybe South Carolina could win a a 17-13.
That's what I'm
type
saying.
game.
It would have to be that type of game for them to have a chance. I agree totally there.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Squad Edition. It's fun. We only have three of us. We all get to talk a lot more and give our thoughts on things, but certainly like our big squad shows as well. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll be back Thursday night. We'll have our squad show doing a full preview of SEC Week 8. But for John Miller, Stephen Willis, I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. And hey, remember to subscribe to your favorite SEC show, whether it's Ole Miss, Mizzou. I do Locked On SEC. Appreciate you guys for joining us, and we'll talk to you guys later in the week. Have a great week, everybody.